Welcome to Boris FX Live. Sponsored by Dell, NVIDIA, and Intel.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Boris FX Live. My name is Ben Brownlee and I'll be shepherding you through today's show. And this is actually one that I've been looking forward to for quite a while now, so it's going to be a good one. Because Boris FX has welcomed in SynthEyes, 3D map moving software, to its ever-growing lineup of products. So if you've ever wanted to add giant tentacles to a scene, flying cars, do set extensions, product replacements, build textured 3D meshes from images, or talk with animals, then SynthEyes may be the product you've been looking for. And I'll be talking with Dr. Russ Andersson, a founding brain behind SynthEyes, about his work on the software and why it's important for a large number of VFX and forensic workflows. I'll then be adding in a couple more guests to the mix with JP Smith, CEO of Imagineer Systems. He's obviously a Mocha mainstay and a motion tracking aficionado. Plus Boris FX Yaminitsky, founder, CEO, and namesake of Boris FX, is also going to be joining us. So we'll be having a roundtable discussion of motion tracking, match moving, and its importance to the industry, and how SynthEyes fits into the Boris FX family. In between all of that, I'll be periodically diving into SynthEyes to show a few examples as well. So if you haven't seen SynthEyes, here's your chance. I might even tease something about SynthEyes and its integration into the larger Boris FX world as well, but more on that later, I think. I've already got some questions ready, but we're not just here for those. I want to hear from you. And who knows, you might be strolling out of here with some shiny new software. So here's how you get involved. If you're watching us on YouTube or on Boris FX Live, you will see a lovely large chat window right next to your viewer. So what I'd like you to do is get on your keyboard and start tippy-tapping your questions into there. I can see that quite a few of you already have started, so keep that trend up, please. If you're watching on Boris FX Live, you are very smart, because we are also giving away free stuff today, as we always do. So what you have to do to be able to win, enter our competition, is go to borisfxlive.com for your chance to win. All I want you to do is go down to the bottom of the page. You'll see an entry form. Again, tippy tap your details into that form for your chance to win. Full terms and conditions apply, of course. But what could you win? Well, in our infinite generosity today, okay, not infinite, and our near infinite generosity today, we are going to be giving away licenses of SynthEyes, Mocha Pro, and the Boris FX suite. So stay tuned for all of that. Yeah, we'll see these graphics come up as we're talking a little bit later about things as well. But you know, join now is what I'm saying. borisfxlive.com. Do not hesitate. All right, before we go any further, I just want to also say thank you very much to our sponsors, NVIDIA, Dell, and Intel. Without their support, we would not be able to put on this show to the professional ways that we are doing it. And of course, a huge shout out to the Dell Precision 3660 Tower. You've heard me talk about it before. What am I going to say about it today? Who knows? But all I know is that it's a cost-effective, scalable performance in a mini tower design. So that is the Dell Precision 3660 Tower. Find out more on Dell. If you are connected to the internet, you might also want to follow us on our different socials as well. We are here on YouTube. We have a couple of lovely channels to subscribe to. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitterx. So join us all there. But we're also not fuddy-duddies stuck in the 1990s. We're also on Discord. So join us on Discord as well. Join the fun. Join hundreds of other people to our ever-growing Discord community. Just scan that in if you have what I call a telephone, or head on over to discord.io/BorisFX. We will also be posting a direct link in the chat as well. Alrighty. Well, without any more further ado, let's get on with the show. And I'd like to introduce my first guest today. Dr. Russell Andersson launched SynthEyes back in 2003. And since then, it's become a mainstay in match moving circles. It's been used by artists on blockbuster films and the biggest TV series around. And now it's become part of the Boris FX family. So welcome to the family, and welcome to Boris FX Live, Dr. Russ Andersson. Hello, Russ.
Thank you very much, Ben. Good to talk to you all.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. It really is. Like for many different reasons, actually. But I'm looking forward to sort of picking your brain as the day goes on.
Great.
I think like if we can just start off with like an easy one. Like what's your history with SynthEyes?
Well, my background has been in robotics and computer vision. I was at Bell Labs for a long time, and did some pretty crazy stuff, like a robot that could play ping pong, and started doing more entertainment industry related things. video game controller based on real-time vision, and kind of segued from that into some more visual effects things. And one thing led to another, and a couple of years later, I was doing kind of 3D stuff at a apparel company, a technology-based apparel company, and started doing SynthEyes just kind of as a little side project. And kind of like I think a lot of things do, you get to a point where people are asking, well, why aren't you selling this thing? And it started just building up kind of organically. And, eventually that started just being my main thing. And, all of a sudden it's 20 years and a whole lot of versions later. And, it's this whole big thing. And now we're joining up with Boris FX to be able to even kind of take it from kind of a one-man boutique to kind of a larger sort of environment.
And that's actually the thing that that stunned me, and I'm sure it surprised many people as well, that SynthEyes was like the sort of brainchild of one person. It always felt sort of bigger to me, really, I think. And I mean, where did you always see it, ending up this way, sort of getting to the size it was?
It was never sort of a giant plan to create some mammoth company, really. My background from computer science and robotics sort of was focused on real-time sort of things, and I always just wanted to make stuff that was fast and that I didn't have to wait for computers. I'm not really a fan of that. And, I kind of just managed the business to stay at a level that I could do it, and just keep on producing, high quality software that people could use, just to get their job done and be able to get home and have the tools to be able to solve whatever problems they had and get it done and go home. So that's kind of been my kind of philosophy all along. It's very much been a niche sort of thing so far, and that's just kind of a reflection of my strategy so far.
I want to sort of talk a bit more about speed in a little bit. I actually want people to see I want people to see actually the speed before we start talking about it. So we'll do that in just a moment. But actually, let's do that now. Let's have a look. So if we're ready to just sort of pop over, I just want people to sort of understand what it is we're talking about. Then I'll come back and I'll ask I've got another couple of quick questions for you before we bring in the rest of the crew. So I mean, this is my sort of first shot that I'm going to be looking at, and it's it's a fairly, let's actually turn this down. It's playing really fast. Let's just play it. Take a little breather. Let it play back at normal speed. And if people aren't familiar with SynthEyes, then it's broken up into a number of different modules up at the top. I'm not going to touch any of those right now. What I am going to do is I'm going to let my mouse get drawn over into this big green auto button here, and I'm going to press that big button that says auto, and I'm going to just let it do its thing, and now it's done. So when we were talking about speed, what's just happened there in those few seconds was it's taken my 153 frame 4K shot, found all the features, tracked them, and got me a good solve on that. So what we're actually getting a little problem with not being able to see the mouse cursor, and I'm trying to figure out why that should be. So give me just 2 seconds on that, because I think I should be sharing it. But while we're doing while that's happening backstage, I'll just sort of talk a little bit about this now. So we've got our viewer with all the points that it's tracked, and then up at the top we've got our orthographic views of the points that we've got here. So we've got the camera. We are still getting problems with the mouse pointer. This is a technical thing rather than an intentional thing, so bear with me for a second. So yeah, up at the top we've got our top view, our front view, and our left view, and you can see the cameras in all of these doing what cameras should do. And I'm also, if we have a little look at the top left hand corner as well, just underneath the big go button, there's an error rate that talks about the current error rate of our solve. And the general consensus is that should be under 1 pixel for HD footage. We're on 4K footage, so we're doing pretty well. And you can see that down in the bottom right hand corner as well, even if you can't see my cursor. But we can clean up a few of these little things and try and get that even better. I'm actually be really happy with this, but just so we can see a cleanup, we will have to clean things up in just a moment. But if we come in up to the top and go to track, clean up trackers, this is going to have a little look at through our trackers here and let us delete stuff that might not be working out for us. So we have a number of bad frames, we have some farish trackers, we have some short-lived trackers, high error trackers. I'm just going to hit fix, and I'm going to refine. I promise you my cursor will come back at some point. And I'm just going to hit refine and go, and you'll see that my error now is, gone down from 0.7 to 0.36, which is, really rather good. So while we're here, I'm just going to export this out, and I'm going to take this out just to After Effects, and we can take it out to a number of different things. I'm going to use the full-on After Effects build, and let's have a little look here. And I will save this out to my After Effects projects. Let's just save that there. And I'm just going to hit OK. Like all of this stuff, I could do tons of stuff with it. I'm not going to. I'm just going to hit OK. And then After Effects is going to spark up for me. And as that happens, I am going to now switch my view over to After Effects. This is the nice thing about this, is that I don't actually have to sort of really think about any of this stuff. It's all done for me. And when After Effects finally comes up, which it is now, but I have to screen share again. There we go. So when it finally comes up, it brings in my whole scene plus all of the trackers that we're going to we're going to be working on, and I can take any of these points and I can do sort of fun stuff with them. I'm not going to do anything too crazy with this right now. This is just like the very, very basics. Just going to type in SynthEyes, turn that into 3D, copy the position from the tracker that I used, and then bring that down back into place, maybe scale that in a little bit. Hey. And there we go. That's fitting in exactly what I wanted it to. So, that's a really sort of very, very basics of running a fully automated solve. We're going to be doing more stuff later on. Don't worry about that. But I just wanted people to be able to see, what SynthEyes looked like if you weren't familiar with it. So let's pop back to me while we try and figure out our technical problem with the mouse cursor, because it was working earlier. And I'll just send a question over to Russ for a second. When doing this sort of fully automated thing, everything seems really, really easy. But there are obviously a lot of depths to this software as well, which we're going to start diving into a little bit more. Are there any sort of big misconceptions or misunderstandings about when people first start to use SynthEyes?
Sure. And kind of one of them is kind of due to the big green button. And that's really a starting point for people and for a lot of shot handling that's going to be done using the automatic tracker. But in fact, SynthEyes isn't a magic wand. It is really, a tool for examining the perspective shifts and figuring out what happened. So it just kind of like any artistic tool, whether it's a hammer or a paintbrush, you're going to use it, and you start to use more and more of the other tools that are available, depending on what the situation is with any particular shot. So kind of that's I'll call that the first misconception. The second one is that I just need to know what buttons to push. I get the idea from talking to people that they expect to be able to handle the same, handle a whole bunch of different shots with just pushing the same set of buttons one after another, and have the right thing happen no matter what the shot is. And, if that was the case, then we wouldn't have all those other buttons. So really the whole point of the thing is that, you need to take a look at what the situation is, what kind of shot it is, and decide what tools to deploy. And that's what makes SynthEyes a pro-level tool rather than a, just push and pray sort of tracker you see in entry level After Effects or whatever. So the idea is that no matter what's happening in your shot, there's a way to get at whatever's happening, figure out what it is, and be able to address it. And that's what a pro tracking tool is all about. And another thing is just coordinate systems, period. Anything to do with coordinate systems. And sort of a subtext to that is, why doesn't SynthEyes just do that for me? And I'll point out there's a great tutorial that's visualizing coordinate system alignment. It's out on the website. It's kind of ageless. Of course, it's actually very old because it doesn't matter what the software version is. But it's just trying to give you the idea of what the concepts are like there. So I always try to encourage people to take a look at that and learn what the whole coordinate system thing is about, really, because you're going to use it whatever coordinate system you want. The whole point of that is to pick out a coordinate system that makes the most sense for what you're trying to do to the shot. And, if you're going to try and put something on a table, you want a coordinate system that matches that area of the table. You don't care what's happening in the rest of the room or anything else. So it's what you want to do to the shot that determines what the best coordinate system is. And, past that, then you start to think about, what trackers do I want to use to do that? Should I have them all bunched together? No, you shouldn't. They need to be spread out. And of course, you want to use ones that are as solid as possible. And I'll point out also, SynthEyes has a tool to pick the coordinate system for you automatically if the scene is kind of structured and you want something to start out with. But again, it's just one of the tool sets, and you need to look at what your needs are for a particular scene. My other little, I'll throw in another little misunderstanding too, is that, hey, I'm just going to enter the focal length from the lens, we got it from the set. And I just say, first off, it's only half a number. The focal length can't be interpreted at all unless you have the size of the sensor that corresponds to that actual image that you're using. And these days, it's really complicated to find out exactly what that is even, and it's not very accurate. That's all these numbers, the focal length off the lens, the sensor size, all are kind of, maybe 1% or 2% sort of numbers. But for match moving, we're looking for something down in the 0.01% range as far as accuracy. the higher the resolution of the shot, the better you're looking for. So that focal length number you have, it's nice to have it as a cross check if you have some reasonable sensor number, or maybe an initial estimate, or sometimes, maybe sometimes, if there's no other information available, there's not enough motion in the shot to get a focal length, then you can use that number from the actual lens. But otherwise, let SynthEyes calculate it. It's going to give you something way more accurate.
That was actually, it's funny you say that as one of the top tips. That was one of my sort of first impressions, because I'd obviously gotten used to getting all of that data, putting in all of that data, and then, at the end of it, getting a worse result than just letting SynthEyes work it all out for me. Because obviously when you're dealing with some of the cine cameras, you can easily find out the full sensor size, the published full sensor size. But then depending on the resolution and how it's windowed that sensor, and how the sensor's actually been manufactured, and the same with any sort of analog system, it's not going to be 100% precise to that number.
Even the lenses, the numbers, I think I've had lens manufacturer in the past say it's like a 5% sort of number, even in some cases. So, the numbers just aren't that accurate to start with. So they're sometimes useful a little. It's nice as a cross check, like I said, but you're going to calculate something that's a lot better.
Yeah. And if people are coming straight to SynthEyes, I would absolutely 100% recommend your video that talks about coordinate systems. Your use of farmyard animals has it's been indelibly burned into my brain for a long while now. Definitely worth a revisit. I'm going to bring in another guest to sort of start the talk in here as well. I want to start off actually by bringing in JP Smith. JP is CEO for Imagineer Systems, obviously behind Mocha. He's got a very, very strong history with Mocha and a strong history with match moving in general. So JP, welcome to the stream.
Hi Ben, hi everyone. Great to be here again.
It's lovely to have you here as well. I just got to make sure that my screen isn't doing anything weird and wonderful now. Like you've been deeply involved with Mocha and planar tracking for 20 plus years now. Can you talk about a little bit about the types of projects where that sort of convergence of 2D planar data and 3D solved scenes would sort of complement each other?
Yeah, a lot of shots, all you need is a 2D track. You want to cut out an object, or do some compositing task. But then shots where you do start to need 3D, maybe you've started out with something that you thought could be accomplished in 2D, and then suddenly you realize you need a bigger set extension than you were going to try, or the simple 2D insert that you're doing is not convincing enough to sell the shot. And then these situations, people start to need to solve in 3D. And also just there's an interesting intersection between the 2D trackers and the 3D, in that, with Mocha for years, we would encounter people who were using Mocha to prep a shot for 3D tracking, and really made us realize that this intersection between having solid 2D tracks as a preparation for 3D was really important.
I think, I think we're going to talk, quite a lot about this as we get a bit further into the discussion and talk about, how all of this software is going to start to, to work together and talk together. So I think I had like another question that I was going to ask now, but I'm going to save it for later. I'm going to bring in our third and final part of this round table, and this is Boris Yamitsky. He is CEO and founder of Boris FX. other people might know him as the Boris. Whenever they go up at trade shows, are you the Boris? And the question is, yes, this is the Boris. Welcome to the Boris FX Live.
Hi, Ben. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm Boris, and I'm the founder and CEO of Boris FX, broadcasting live from Amsterdam, the home of IBC show, which is about to start on Friday. And thanks very much for joining us today.
Yeah, well, thanks very much, Phil. I will be we'll be talking a bit more about IBC in a little bit, but yes, we will be at IBC this year. It's very exciting to be back in Amsterdam. But I think I've got one big question for you, and this is a question that I've heard quite a bit since we announced the acquisition of SynthEyes. What do you think the addition of SynthEyes actually brings to the suite of Boris FX tools?
Oh, I think quite a bit. I think actually a lot. As we all know, Mocha has been added to the Boris FX product family in 2015 and became a foundation of our planner tracking technology. And it's found its way in many other Boris FX products, such as Sapphire and Continuum and Silhouette. So obviously, 3D camera solve is very important. As JP just mentioned, it's a natural extension to the tracking job that all our customers do. So I would expect SynthEyes at some point will definitely percolate somewhere in other products. But for the time being, it's a fantastic, the best 3D camera solver that will continue to offer our customers.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely worth saying to current users as well, is that the software that you are using and love, that's not going anywhere, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Our full intention is to take it further, to put it on a very solid foundation of Boris FX product family with all the technology behind it, and the way we market and sell and serve and support our customers. Now SynthEyes will definitely benefit from all that.
Excellent. Well, I think let's bring everyone into this then. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about match moving in general and where it sits within the within the visual effects world, and then we'll come in. I'll start taking some questions from the chat as well. So if you haven't done so already and you want to ask some questions to this group, then please get them in now. I will be going through and asking as many of them as possible a little bit later. But I mean, the first thing is, like, it's a really sort of big and broad question. I think we'll start with Russ on this one. What actually is 3D match moving, and why is it important?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Yeah, basically, these days, as soon as you want to put some thing into the 3D environment rather than just into the image at some spot, you need to know exactly where things are in that 3D environment, what the camera did, and what the parameters of the camera are. What its field of view is, and what sort of distortion is present in that camera lens as well. So the match moving is all about figuring out what happened when you were out there on that set, and then being able to bring that into your 3D environment to be able to add things to that. That would be your basic match.
So whereabouts is that being used most often then?
Well, I think it's being used really in an incredibly broad range of things. Whether it's commercials and music videos and as well as TV and feature film work as well. And we see a lot of work with architectural firms, these days. Anything that has to do with drones, infrastructure projects, things on fronts of trains, all kinds of things. Also analyzing various kinds of crashes as well. So it's really a foundational tool for work in all these areas.
So moving more into the sort of video forensics world then, as well as the VFX world.
Right.
And I think there's actually, there's obviously a crossover with a lot of the Boris FX tracking and filter software that's also being used in in law enforcement for video forensics. So it's kind of another good thing into the mix. Opening this out a little bit then, sort of bringing in JP on this one. Can you talk a little bit about the sort of different approaches to tracking? I mean, we talked very briefly about point and planar, but can you sort of go a little bit more into that?
Yeah, just thinking about 2D tracking to begin with. You can start, if we look at how tracking in VFX started, well, probably back in the 80s, certainly in the 90s, you would find one or more high contrast features in your image, and you'd place a mark on it, and then the software would follow the motion of that high contrast feature. And then if you had 1 point, you could find the translation of an object from that. And the more points you add, the more aspects of the motion you can follow. Up to, if you have 4 points, you can then do a full corner pin with perspective. One of the challenges with just using points is that points can get hidden, they can go out of frame, they can get blurry and be difficult to track. There are lots of reasons why working just with points can be quite limited. So the next step from that is planar tracking, which is the approach Mocha takes. So there, rather than looking at individual points, we're looking at a whole area of pixels inside a shape that the user's drawn. And trying to track the 2D motion of that whole area. And so there, because you're working with a much bigger area of the image, individual details are less important, and usually we can then extract stable, robust motion from the area. And then going beyond planar, we've got other solutions such as the power mesh in Mocha, where we're able to track a deforming object by breaking it up into smaller areas. That's on the 2D side. Any of these approaches to 2D tracking can then be a precursor to solving the shot in 3D. So if you can imagine, the basis for the 3D solving is certainly in the case of SynthEyes, is having 2D positions in the frame. So once you take all those positions and put them into the solving engine, you can then solve the shot in 3D.
And then sort of taking that over to Russ then, I mean, what is the process for then actually solving those 2D points, those 2D places on the screen, and bringing those into a 3D scene?
Yeah, well, the short answer is there's a whole lot of math.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Some of that math, I think, was originally developed back in the 1800s by a Frenchman who wanted to get the map of Paris from a balloon. It's my recollection, and then it started out in the 50s with people wanting to analyze the spy aircraft pictures. But it's kind of a very intense form of triangulation and solving equations with thousands, tens of thousands of variables and equations. And fortunately, our computers have gotten faster and faster in that process, and ultimately, we're able to crank things out, really remarkably quickly these days. But it goes through a whole lot of work to get there. I will say that.
And that's the thing that struck me coming back to SynthEyes for the first time in a while was just how much that speed really does hit so quickly. I was actually looking forward to hitting solve and then going off and getting a nice cup of tea and coming back and being able to sit down and take a few sips while everything was going on, but I'm not allowed that anymore. So my question is, why do you hate tea drinkers?
I'm really just a bit impatient. I like the computer to wait for me, not vice versa. So I really, you want to get home, and there are better things to do with your time ultimately than have to sit there waiting for something to finish up. So I like to get it
absolutely
done.
True.
And it's been, one of the big appeals to SynthEyes over the years. This projects get kind of languish in some big studios for a while, and then all of a sudden the deadline's coming up, and they need to farm the work out and on a tight deadline, and a lot of that work winds up going to SynthEyes and getting cranked out really quickly. So, that's helped make the wheels turn for everybody, I think.
Nice. And I'm actually willing to sacrifice my lack of tea for the speed and getting the shot done. That is a very big sacrifice I'm willing to make, not eagerly, but I am willing to do it. I'm gonna let's take a little break here. We're gonna come back with some more questions. What we are going to do is not go off and get a cup of tea, but we are going to give away some stuff if we can in just a few moments. So we're going to start to warm up the tombola in the background, the great big tombola that we have put everyone's names into. But before we do that, I just want to say we are going to be at IBC this year. Boris is already there. There I am. I will be giving live demos every day from Friday to Monday. We're going to be at the Dell booth in Hall 7. So please drop in and see us. We will be very, very happy to talk to you about SynthEyes, Mocha Pro, or in fact, any of the Boris FX products. I am eager to talk to as many people as possible. It's going to be our first IBC since, I'm going to say 2019, because it was 2019. So yeah, it's going to be good to see people there. So if you are in Amsterdam, come and join us. If you're not in Amsterdam, you can still join in the fun with us on our live, borisfxlive.com, where one lucky person is going to be coming away with a 1-year subscription of Mocha Pro. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Mission Control to press that big button, get the tombola spinning up to Mach 1 and see what we get. So I want to say congratulations to our first winner today, Paul Binney. Paul, you have won a 1-year subscription of Mocha Pro. Congratulations to you. Do you know how Paul won it? It's easy. All Paul did, he went to borisfxlive.com, he scrolled down to the bottom of that page, and he filled in his details into one simple form. And that was it. That's all he did. And now he is skipping, dancing, and some have even said he's cartwheeling home with a 1-year subscription of Mocha Pro. But we've still got some other great prizes to give away, of course. The night is young. The day is old. We still have a copy of SynthEyes to give away. Plus, we're also going to be giving away the Boris FX suite, which used to be everything that we made. But now we make so many things. It's not quite everything we make, but it is a lot of stuff. An ever-growing mountain of lovely visual software, including Mocha Pro, including Silhouette, including Continuum and Sapphire and Optics. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of stuff in there. Of course, we are live, so please get your questions in. A lot of people have done that so far. I will be answering as many. Well, I'm not going to be answering any of them. I'll be asking as many as possible very, very soon. All right, what should we do? Shall we head back in and see the next shot before we go into asking some questions? I think that's probably a good idea. And hopefully this time people are going to be able to see my cursor. The magic of the cursor may be working, but may not. Oh my goodness. The window is closed. See, it's yeah, we are looking here, and are we still seeing the cursor? Are we still not seeing the cursor? This is good. All right. Well, I'm going to be pretending that everyone can see the cursor. I'm sorry about this. We are having Zoom cursor problems. This is very annoying for everyone, but I'm going to just be describing where I will be pointing and looking at all times. Okay, so this is the next shot that we're gonna be looking at, and we're not going to be doing this using the big green auto button on this occasion. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at another one of the modules here, and the modules are up at the top, and we're going to be looking at features. So in the features module, we are going to be talking a little bit about what is going on the left-hand side of the interface, because we have a number of buttons that are saying, you know, blip this frame, blip all frames, and I'm going to hit blip all frames, and just to show you what we get. So this is actually the sort of first area of or the first stage of coming in and building up a load of auto trackers for us. So what's happened here is instead of going in and, you know, individually choosing our points, SynthEyes has come in and found nice, interesting areas to blip, and blipped them all the way through and found the trail. Obviously, Russ is going to be talking more about blipping in just a moment. And then we can sort of just peel all of these off, and we end up with a number of different trackers. The trackers are in green here. Let's clear all our blips so we don't see the blips anymore. So now that we have these little green diamonds, these are the interesting parts that are then going to get solved into our scene. Now, we don't have to just go along with one round of blips. This is a nice little technique that Matthew Merkovich actually talks about in one of his absolutely amazing YouTube tutorials about SynthEyes. I can see we have he's in the chat at the moment. We also have Track VFX, which is another great resource for SynthEyes training, in the chat as well. And what we can do here is we can change up in the advanced feature control, you know, the size of these blips. So as I start to bring my size up, you can start to see it's blipping different sizes for our small blip size. I'm gonna blip out our big blip size as well. I understand you can't see the cursor. It's fine. We'll all live. And you know, once we've got these new blips sorted out, or these areas that could be blipping, let's blip all the frames on that, and these are going to give us a different round of features to work with for the next solve. So let's peel all of those, and look, I've got lots and lots of other new features to solve. Excellent. All right, so just playing this through now, it looks a bit of a mess. Let's clear all the blips so we can just focus again on the little points of interest that we've got, or the trackers that we've got here. And actually, let's just solve this. Can we solve this in the features module? Well, no, because then it would be called the solver module, which is in fact where we're going to go to. So if you go up to the top again, we're into the solver module, and let's just hit that big go button, and that will try to solve our shot for us. Let's zoom in quite far on this, or quite high into this, and we have an error rate. If I just unclick there, our error rate is in the red. It's 3.2 HPix, horizontal pixels. So that means that the drift that we're getting from the solved points to the trackers is on average 3.2 2 pixels. That's quite high. So what we can do is we can start to do a little bit what we did before, is come and clean all these things up. So I'm going to just clean all these trackers up. I'll take out the higher trackers, and I want you to pay close attention to the trackers that are on top of the girls here. Now, when we're solving a scene, we really don't want to have moving objects or being tracked and solved for just getting the camera motion. When we're getting the camera motion of a scene, we really just want to be focused on that scene. Anything that goes through it, anything that's moving in there, is going to throw off the solve, because those elements aren't going to be moving in the same way as the camera. Now, often you might want to sort of roto out those things to begin with, or mask off those things to begin with, but being inherently lazy, I'm just going to see how far we can get just by taking away those high error trackers. And those are now, let's just get rid of them. And those are now taken off the trackers that we had on the girls, or the solved points, I should say, that we had on the girls, because those were inconsistent enough with the rest of the tracking points that it was like, yep, we'll get rid of those and we'll blow those away, because those weren't helping our solve. So let's come in, let's just refine that. We took it from 3.2, just by getting rid of those bad trackers, we took it to an error of 0.98. For the 3 seconds of actual work that it's taken me, I'm pretty happy with that. And we come in, well, just have a quick look and zoom in at what the camera's doing on here, and just sort of scrub that back. We can see if we're getting a consistent movement on the camera or not. Obviously, it's not 100% perfect, but for 3 seconds of work, it is good enough for jazz. We can, good enough to sort of show you that little area. What I could do is I could actually start to come in and add manual trackers into here, but that would take more than the 3.5 minutes that I have assigned to this section here. We'll talk about manual trackers in just a moment. One other little thing, actually, just a really, really quick shot before we come back to our guests. Let's start up a new shot here. And I'm going to come in and just open up this shot. And let's take a little look at this one. Just going to play this one through. There's something quite interesting about this shot. And the interesting thing about this shot is that we have a lot of flashing lights going through. And as JP said earlier, one of the things that makes 2D trackers or tracking 2D points quite tricky to do is coming in and tracking through big lighting changes and motion blur and things like that. Well, let's do something just to see what would happen if I press the auto button here. It's going to come in, and actually that solved it a lot better than I thought it was, but still you can see it's not solved it particularly cleanly just with the auto. Let's start from afresh. Let's not save that file. Let's just start from afresh. And I'm going to come in and come back into our features thing here. And I'm going to just do one more little thing and come up, and I'm going to try and remember which of these windows it's going to be in. There we go. We're going to come in and we're going to go into the image processor. So the image processor is here to help to sort of give us different ideas of or different colors of what we can do with the image. So we could come in and we could change the the brightness up of this, or change the contrast up of this a little bit. But I'm going to do one other thing, and that's come into the high pass here, and I can actually make just like a high pass version of this. So just finding the edges of the elements, and I don't need to noise reduce. I'm just going to do the high pass here for a second. And I'm going to come in, I'm just going to blip all the frames on this one. Blip, blip, blip. It's going to find all my interesting points. Thank you very much. Oh, those are looking quite nice. Oh, it's also going to do something which is also really, really nice. And it's going to tell me to save, because if it didn't do that now, obviously I would forget to save. And let's just peel all of those off. And we've got quite a lot of stuff, quite a lot of things that we can look at. I'm just going to come into the solver now. Just hit auto on the solver. We've got an error rate of 2.5. I'll come in and we'll do that same thing as we did before. Just prune out some of those high error trackers and just fix all of those. I'm not going to touch any of the any of the parameters that I could actually do. Just refine that. Takes me from 2.5 to 0.96. Not bad. Let's get rid of that high pass. Come in and let's just take a quick look at the solve that we've got. If we have a little look just at what is happening with the cameras here in our viewers, again, for just a few seconds work, that's given us quite a nice little starting point. Absolutely. And I'm getting some very nice feedback on the high pass can be improved with adjusting the high and low points on the image. Thank you very much, Matthew. Thank you very much. See, getting knowledge come through in the chat. I just want to show what we can do with touching nothing. So that's just a couple of little things that we've got. We've got the different ways of doing the blipping, the different levels of doing blipping, and we can also come in and use the preprocessor to come in and help us find parts of the image that would otherwise be a little bit tricky to see. We're going to come back. We're going to do some other more other shots a little bit later. What I'll do now though is I will come into the back into our group, and I'll reintroduce everyone that we have. We hopefully still have Russ in here and JP still with us. And we also have Boris here as well. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for sticking with me. Russ, can you talk a little bit about blipping, please, and I'm going to search for some other questions from chat. Oh, hang on a sec. We're just going to come back one moment, and you're live again. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. The blipping process. The idea is to find features, connect them from one frame to another, and then decide. The whole peeling process is deciding which of them to use to actually turn into trackers. So that's kind of the different phases in the process. Now, in that one particular example shot, there with the girls, there were a couple of trackers on the girls, and you could have just simply deleted those outright. And in fact, the trackers panel has a special feature on that red X, the delete button. If you have some trackers selected and hit the red X, it'll delete them. But if you just turn that on in the first place, then yeah, actually, yeah, not there, but then you can turn it into a mode where any tracker you touch will get deleted, and you can go and lasso select trackers and delete them. So that's one way to clean up the initial results of that whole blipping and peeling process. You'll notice that there's a roto masking capability up there. Is one of the different rooms that you can enter also, and that lets you control the blipping process where it's actually going to look at. So in that shot, there were with the girls again, there was a big area of sky. So you might have simply set up a really simple roto mask up in that area that says, nah, we don't want to look in this area, right? And so in the upper left-hand corner of that, you can go and block things out. So the roto masks are typically, though, kind of really low accuracy sorts of things. You could block out the girls too if you wanted, but rather than trying to actually get boundaries of them, you might just create a really simple oval for each one of them and just kind of roughly animate them through the shot. So it's always a trade-off for the particular shot. What's going to be easiest, to just go and delete a couple of trackers that happen to wind up on something like the girls here. And typically, because they're moving around, they're not going to be great quality features, and there aren't going to be that many. But if you got something that's a big area that you don't want any trackers in, and the shot isn't too crazy, then it can be easy to just set up a roto mask that says that don't look here. So that's some of the additional functionality that you have available in that whole blipping process.
Yeah, there's like I did have another shot. I'm not. We might actually get to see it later today, where we've got sort of a similar one to the girl shot we had before, but we have the character is much more sort of in focus in the screen. So they're moving around in a way that's very different to the scene in general. That sounds like it would be a much better candidate for rotoing out the whole character rather than just sort of deleting the tracker points afterwards, because obviously if she's taking up, or if the character is taking up quite a lot of the space, that's going to be very, very tempting to go in and start to to focus on with the trackers.
Right.
Like taking this back, just or going a little bit deeper into what we were talking about with the lenses earlier, and this is a question from chat. Can SynthEyes determine the optical center of the image if it is not the center of the frame?
Right. That's one of the parameters that can be determined as part of that lens distortion process, and it's something you can turn on if it's necessary. It just mathematically, it turns out that it's not something that you can often determine all that accurately unless there's a whole lot of distortion in the shot. If you think about that for a little, the distortion is kind of all pointing towards the center. So if there's not very much distortion, you can't really figure out where the center is. So that's something you can certainly figure out. It's just a feature to turn on if the situation warrants it.
What about sort of anamorphic lenses as well?
Same thing applies, that there are a lot of different parameters that you can turn on depending on the type of lens and the amount of distortion that it has. And, in some cases, they even might be animated. So that's one of the features that's available at the situation.
JP, can you talk about, how that differs from the Mocha process of solving lenses?
Yeah, in Mocha, the the lens solving happens in a 2D side. So you would typically load in a shot, then try to find edges in the frame that, you know, in the real world are straight, but they're appearing curved in the image. Select multiple edges, and then run a calibration process, which will try to work out the lens parameters based on that. And you know, there are various different lens models. You can use anamorphic lenses, or you can calibrate the sensor and so on. But that's all done in 2D. And so the difference is in SynthEyes, solving the lens is part of the whole solving process. So you have all this information that's been provided by the 2D tracking, and then you're putting it into a system that can solve various different properties of the camera. So it can solve the camera's position, but it can also solve all these properties of the lens. So it's happening at a different phase in the process.
Like with that you know, talking about the difficulties of sort of calculating digital replicas of these analog analog things with lenses and non-flat worlds. You know, what other things do we have? What sort of can we sort of start to pull in different metadata now from, you know, which is captured on set, or are we kind of forced to work with what we have on the screen?
Well, the whole thing about camera metadata has been, it's funny, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday about this with a customer. And I feel like I've been talking to people about the possibility of using metadata for tracking for my entire career. And it still doesn't really seem to be happening. But actually, I'd be curious to hear from Russ about this, that given that there are now good ways to capture lens data, as you mentioned earlier, Ben, and there are, if it's possible to keep that data all the way through to the EXR files that are being used in VFX, does it really help? Or is it the case that in the vast majority of situations, you're better off just solving it using the solving engine?
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that. I'm sort of with you that people have been talking about it for a long time, and you know, I've from time to time I've asked people, can you send me a sample of that? And really, it's kind of gotten a dull thud. But it's certainly potentially useful in the same way that the lens focal length information is useful. That at least from my understanding of the sensors, they're not terribly accurate. You know, you have all sorts of mechanical issues with backlash, and the sensors are analog things that may only have, you know, part in a couple hundred, a couple of thousand resolution. And so you don't know exactly how much you can count on that. Is it helpful for getting a good initial estimate of what's happening? If that data is good, yeah, I think definitely so. And, you know, being a cross-check on the process, so once you do have a solve. And similarly, there are definitely situations where people have done some shots that are bad idea, we'll say, not the best shot plans as far as match moving is concerned. And, you know, rightfully that isn't generally the director's concern, to keep the VFX people as happy as possible. But you know, you have situations where a shot is kind of ambiguous, and you know, the typical ones on that are ones that I call almost a tripod, and it's actually kind of on my list of things that people do initially that aren't a great idea. And that's, I'm going to take a shot and I'm just going to go like this and say, okay, that's my moving camera. And what is it? Does the camera really move enough to figure out what's happened in a shot? You know, maybe if things are only 1.5 feet away, yeah, but really, it's somewhere in between being a tripod shot and being a true moving camera shot. And as a result, you can't really get a good solution for it either way. So it's kind of a mess. And that's the sort of thing where having that additional sensor data, I think, could be especially useful in trying to cobble those kinds of shots together and come up with something that's a reasonable fit. So, it's definitely potentially useful. Haven't seen too much of the data yet. But more data in general, I think, is good.
Yeah, that example is quite an interesting one. Oh, sorry, Ben.
No, please go for it.
Just imagining the array of sensors that you get in a camera phone these days. Have you ever experimented with using gyro data or accelerometer data in a sort of sensor fusion way with the computer vision code?
I have not. I know the data is available in some of the metadata, and in some cases I've asked people exactly what you have to do to interpret that data. And it's acceleration data, and so to get position you have to integrate it twice, and it's at a 1 kilohertz rate compared to whatever the frame rate is of the camera. So you're kind of putting a whole tool chain together to get it. Is it going to be good enough to get, to act as a measuring tool? And kind of you think of the image as a ruler, and you want that ruler to be accurate to a part in a couple thousand, a 4K image. You want, a 1 pixel shift is a part in 4,000, say, in that image. And is that data going to be that good? Because basically the data that you get out of the accelerometer is over 360 degrees, but the match move is essentially looking at only some tiny field of view of it. So it kind of puts an even higher constraint on how accurate that metadata has to be. So I think it's an uphill battle to really get to the point where you can use it to replace that the match move data. But like I said, it's something that you can use as a cross-check, as an initial estimate to feed into things, or to repair the damage when somebody gives you something that's just as a mess.
So is it always the case then that, I was going to say, well, actually, when we're doing the tracking itself, is it always the case that more data is better? Are more tracking points better than fewer tracking points, or is that not how it works?
Well, more tracking points are good to the extent that you're sure that they're actually right. And that can be the problem if you have more and more tracking points that you're, it's less obvious that those have been culled suitably. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring up, in the discussion here, the shots earlier, is that one of the tools that's available to you is the graph editor. And really, one of the things you always need to do is to flip over to the graph editor and just do a Control or Command A to select all the points and see what those error curves look like after you've done a solve. Because all those things that are rolling up across to the top of that error curve, to the top of the graph editor, are things that have higher errors. You can knock those down with the tracker cleanup tool, but oftentimes it's a good idea to actually look at what you've got and what's there in order to be able to get the best results. I don't know if we can pop that out on the live stream itself there, what you're doing, Ben.
Hopefully we can. We have the technology. But I forgot to tell you, mission control is currently on the far side of the moon, so it does take a little while for things to bounce back, but they will get there.
Super. So those blue curves that go up to the top of that graph editor are points that have higher error on those particular frames. So you can do the tracker cleanup to knock those down a bit, or in some cases, what you're looking at are things that amount to trackers that have jumped from one feature to another. If you scrub back to the beginning of the shot, you'll see the building up in the top right has a repeated texture that's all those windows. And so you can see in a shot, especially if it's got a bit more vibration to it, that sometimes the tracker will jump from one of the identical windows to another identical window. Now, you could just simply knock those out and delete the whole thing. But if you don't have that many trackers, or definitely want to have something up there, you can actually use the graph editor to split it up into the two separate trackers. So that way you have two trackers that are individually good rather than one that's combined together. So, that's the kind of pro-level tool that's available to be able to find and, address issues that occur in the shop.
And just by taking that extra refine round going down there, we've now we've taken our error 0.16 pixels lower than we had it before. So that's all fun.
Yeah,
so
I'll point out, if I can, from this, SynthEyes is kind of a garbage in, garbage out sort of process. So that when you see one of those spikes in the tracker data, depending on the number of trackers you have, you're going to see a spike at some level in the path of the camera. And so when you see a spike in the path of the camera that you think should be eliminated, then you can go and use this graph editor tool to figure out where that's coming from, fix that individual tracker, and correct what the overall situation is.
Cool. I mean, that's there's a lot of like this is something that is very difficult to sort of convey in a short in a short live stream, just how deep some of these tools actually go. I've been showing the absolute very, very surface, like the picometer surface of what we can start to do, but it's it's really impressive just how fine tuned you can actually start to get with this. Well, I think let's take another quick little break, give away some more stuff, and then come back for the final section, shall we? Let's do that. Are we ready to give away some more prizes, I wonder? Let's hope so. Before we do that, though, we are answering questions live in chat. So if you do have questions, please get them into us. We have only one short section left. We do want to hear from you. We will try and answer as many as we can possibly do as we start to wind down into our final section here. If you're liking the stream, obviously give us a little thumbs up. If you're watching on borisfxlive.com, there's nothing to stop you from going over to YouTube, giving it a little thumbs up, seeing the confetti fly everywhere. Everyone loves that. And then just coming back and going back to borisfxlive.com. Why else would you want to go to borisfxlive.com? Well, I'll give you two big reasons why. We're going to be giving away a copy of SynthEyes, and we're also going to be giving away Boris FX Suite. So that's Mocha Pro, that's Silhouette, that's Sapphire, that's Continuum, that's Optics, and I don't know, maybe some other stuff later. Who knows what's going to be happening? And if you want to see me live, and actually live, and remember that I'm not just a collection of pixels, I will be at IBC along with Boris FX. We will be hanging around at the Dell booth, wanting to shake hands, slap backs, and just show you all of the Boris FX goodness that we have to offer. So if you are going to be at IBC in Amsterdam this year, please come and say hello. I will be waiting, hand outstretched, to say hello to as many people as possible. Alrighty, well let's give away some SynthEyes, shall we? We are going to be giving away SynthEyes to one lucky winner, and all they did was go to borisfxlive.com and just enter the competition. And now what we're going to do, I don't know what that graphic actually is. It might not be a 1 year subscription. I think it's just going to be like a permanent license for SynthEyes. So that's a little problem with the template that we're using on this. So apologies for the false information to Michelle Darachek. Congratulations, Michelle. You've won SynthEyes. You've won a permanent license of SynthEyes. You've not won a 1 year subscription. You've won a permanent one. Michelle, thank you very much for joining us at Boris FX Live today. Go, track, solve, and export to your heart's content. We still have one more prize to give away, so if you haven't entered the competition yet, now is your chance to do so. There are mere minutes left. All right, but before we do that, let's come back and have a look at another shot that we have here. I'm going to be doing another little sort of workflow here. We are going to be working very quick and very dirty. I'm going to be pressing my auto button up here just to get the initial solve here, because I want to show you how we can start to mix up auto features along with manual features as well. So we have our automatic solve here. I'll do an initial cleanup. So do an automated cleanup, just as we've done before. Clean up those trackers. Boom, boom, boom. What I'll also do is do what Russ said. Is get rid of these ones which are on moving objects. That's no good. No. And I'm going to refine my solve, taking that from 1.7 to 1.04. So there we go. There's still maybe a couple of dodgy trackers around, but we'll work with those. This isn't the main point of what I want to show you here. Because what I actually want to show you is how we can start to go in and go to our trackers module up at the top, and how we can start to work with placing in trackers ourselves. So I'm going to be looking at, I'll look at this this building here, and I'm going to place in a manual tracker. And we'll do one first, just to see how things go. And I click on here, and it's going to give us a little point tracker. And so these point trackers are working just like, point trackers have worked since time immemorial. So we've got our little feature in the middle. Actually, zoom in a little bit here. Directly in the middle, we have our point, which is the data that we're actually going to be looking at. We have our inner box, which is going to be the thing that we're looking for. And then we have our outer box, which is where we're going to be looking for it in the other frames, before or after. We want this to be big enough to actually find this feature in the next frame, but not so big that it's going to get confused, especially when we've got, a lot of repeating patterns going on down here. And just as we did before, I'm going to do a little bit of pre-processing, and in this case, I'm just going to come in and just do a bit of noise reduction. It's just going to give it a little bit of a blur, and I'll do a chroma blur as well. We've got a lot of color noise in here, and maybe that can help to smooth things out a little bit. So when it comes to actually doing the tracking, in tracking, well, what I'll do first, I'll follow 2D so that we've got our tracker always in the center here. When it comes to tracking, a lot of the fun stuff happens over on the left hand side of the screen. So we've got the point that it's going to be matching in the other frames, so we can see that zoomed in the big viewer there. We also have other things about how we're going to do that actual point track. So it's not just, you aren't just sort of thrown to the wolves with an auto track and, sort of, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, a sad day. There are a lot of things that we can do here. I'm not going to do any of them. I am going to just sort of see what we can do in the just using like the default settings basically. And I'm just going to track this backwards because I started at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to track this backwards, and let's just, hit play, track it backwards. And it will then go along and it will start to track my shape, and it's going to try and find that area in the shape that we were working with, or sorry, in the frames previous to it. Now, something interesting is happening with this particular shot, and that is we've got a perspective shift going on within our motion track, within our area here. And what you're sort of seeing is, as the building starts to shift around, we're getting a bit of drift going on here. And in fact, you can see that quite happily in the bottom right-hand corner, where you've got that little slope that shows us, where how much that point is drifting. And it's basically a linear drift. And there are ways of correcting this linear drift, which is actually really quite cool, but we're not going to do that. That's with the offset. That's very cool. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do it with using this key button, because what I can do here is I can add in keyframes along the time to change the image that change the image or change the area that we're searching for. So I'm just going to put this to 12. This is just going to show you what this is going to do. Let's just play that backwards again. And what this is happening now is you can probably see on the left hand side that key now is flashing on, and at the bottom what we're getting is we're getting keys added onto our timeline here. Now at some point that does go a bit bad. Don't really want that, but as an idea, I probably would have got this made this a little bit smaller, or actually maybe just done this with manual keyframes and offset it anyway. But it's a way of just sort of coming in and automatically changing what that area happens to be. So I could get this looking good, or I could start moving on and just adding in more keys and do actually what I want to do with this shot. I'm just going to add in a few more things here because I want to show not the actual tracking, because the tracking is kind of tracking is going to take a little bit more time than I want it to do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to track a few elements at the front of this building. Let's turn all of this off. So all of these are going to be tracking backwards, because that was what the last one that I did was going to do. So that's cool. And let's just track everything simultaneously. Again, this is probably something that I wouldn't want to do normally, but we're just going to track all of them. And we're going to track all of them backwards, because it's not the result that we're looking for here. That's not the important bit. The important bit is actually going to be the bit that comes after this. So as many people are saying in chat at the moment, don't use auto key, just use the keyboard shortcut to manually keyframes. I absolutely agree with everything you're saying. Now these trackers are they're not doing anything yet. They aren't actually useful yet. They're going to be useful when I lock them into place. So if the trackers are done, I can lock them. And now they're going to help to contribute to the solve. Unlocked trackers will not help contribute to the solve. And we can, if we're not happy with some tracks, we can change weighting on things and do all of that. But we're not going to get into any of that. No, Ben. No, that's all just distractions. So I'm in refine. I'm in my solver, in refine. Let's go and refine that up a little bit just to solve these bad boys here. And now we're seeing those are sitting in my solve. Let's come on over here. We can see See those sitting, maybe they're sitting in the right place. Let's bring those in there. We can always reorient these as we want to. Like we said, like right at the beginning of the thing, if we're not happy with how these are looking, we can always reorient them. But again, that's not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is this other little thing here. So I'm going to come into 3D and I'm going to change my layout to perspective for the time being. Let's just lock these. So I have the trackers that are, I think, are nominally on the front of the building. They're not, because I haven't done the work for them. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to just bring up a card that is a plane on top of that area. Let's come into the quad perspective view here. In fact, let's not come into the quad perspective view yet. Let's come into just the solve view, because I want to do one little thing here and just make sure that these trackers are a different color so that we can see them. There we go. And let's come back into our quad perspective view here. So you can see that that card has automatically been put in basically the the area where we had solved those points here. We could change that all up, get it all looking really beautiful and nice. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it how it is, because what I want to do is I want to show you this bad boy over here, which is my texture panel. Over on the left hand side, you can't see my cursor. I am clicking on the texture panel. It's going to bring up a little texture control panel here, which you can see hopefully. And what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to make a texture out of that card. I'm just going to hit run. I'm not going to touch any of the things. I'm just going to run it at default. And here we go. It's going to take a little second to think. We are looking at 300 pixels here. And let's have a little show of what that has done for me. I am going to do something in just 2 seconds so you can actually see what I'm doing. And let's come in and we will share that there. So this is the result of what it's given me. This is stitched together a card based off of the track in there. So we've got in our the front of our building here. We could do other stuff with this. In fact, let's try and do other stuff with this. Just one other thing. Instead of doing the extract average pixels, extract best pixel, I'm going to change this to average pixel. And it's at this point here we see how good my lazy boy tracking has been. If this is good, and I'd be very surprised if it is, we are going to be getting a lovely, beautiful version of this. Let's just show this up here, and let's have a show it so you can actually see it, which is going to be, I've got two which are called exactly the same. It's not you, it's the other one. So okay, this is good. This is what I planned all along. So this is the fuzzy one we got from coming in and doing just the best pixel. So it's not done any averaging at all. And this is the frame averaged one. So we've now extracted a card, and it's taken out, because we've used multiple frames, it's taken out all of that noise. So we've got one nice clean card rather than the noisy, horrible card that we were working with previously. And so what can we do with this? Well, I am going to now come in and I'm going to export this out to Fusion as a Fusion composite. Let's just come in. I'll call this one Fusion Project. I will call this one Drone Over something something Ben, so I know that this is the right one. I'm not going to touch any of those default things. I'm just going to leave all of that at default. I'm going to come in and I'm going to open up Fusion. This will take a moment, but as soon as we open up Fusion, I will then share the Fusion screen. This is where people start to see my fantastic painting skills, by the way. So yeah, strap in for that. While we're waiting for Fusion to initialize, just please get your last questions in when we return to the roundest of round tables. Fusion has opened. I'm now going to come in. I'm going to open up that Fusion comp. It's the one that's called Ben. There we go. Let's see where I can find it. So it's brought in a 3D scene for me with my original. Let's actually see that over there. There we go. So we've got the original image here. Lovely. And then we've got our rendered image over on the right hand side. We've got the tracking markers as well that we could possibly want. But probably more interestingly for what we want to do is we also have a card set out. Hey, there's our card in 3D space. Now imagine if this wasn't just one card, but it was multiple cards. Imagine what we could do with that. Well, we don't have to imagine. I'm going to add in a paint node into the middle here. Let's put this over onto here. I said you're going to witness some of my finest painting skills. Let's give me a color, something that's going to stand out. Let's do a magenta here, and I'm just going to do some lovely painting. Ben is great. There we go. Perfect. And then, you know, without any further ado, because it's a nice card floating in space, I can do nice little changes for set extensions, set replacements, set cleanup, or, you know, all of that sort of stuff can be done with floating cards very, very easily in one scene. Of course, because we came in and didn't do the degrain, we degrained this as part of the image. We would want to do some grain matching afterwards, but you know, we have ultra grain for doing that as well, of course. Alrighty. Oh, darn. I'm in a conundrum. I've got one thing I want to show people, but I'm not sure whether I should show people. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I teased it at the beginning of the shot. Oh, sorry, the beginning of the thing, and I should do it. Let's come in. I'm going to add in another thing here. Let's bring in this one. Okay, so this is my shot. I'm not going to do anything with this shot. The reason I'm not going to do anything with this shot is because I've already done something with this shot, but I didn't do it in SynthEyes. I did this in Mocha. And let's come in and let's just share the Mocha screen for us. Now I spent, if I said 45 seconds on this, that's probably overestimating how much time that I actually spent on this. I've got a power mesh going over on this side of the face. I've got a different power mesh going, okay, a different power mesh. I've got half a power mesh going on the other side of the face. And as you can tell, this power mesh is bad. I haven't spent any time working on it at all. I literally just threw this together just to see what would happen, because I want to show you this one little thing. If I go to export track, Mocha product manager Martin Brennan whipped up a little Python script that's given us another export format. It's SynthEyes mesh and surface 2D point tracker paths. I'm going to save this out somewhere good. not in optics, because we're not working in optics. We are working in SynthEyes, Mocha data. Let's just, okay, let's rename that one again. Come on, Windows, there we go. You know what you're doing. That's the little bling that lets me know that I've done everything right. And let's pop back into SynthEyes, which is asking me to save its data, or save the project, because it's a much better person than I ever could be. And I'm gonna create a new object. What am I going to do here? I'm going to come in. I'm going to create an object. I am basically adding a moving object into here. I'm going to import, and you can't see my cursor, but what you can do is you can see me coming in to going import plain text, 2D tracker points, Mocha data. I'm not going to touch any of this stuff. Just go OK. It's not going to bring me in all of the points. It's going to bring me in some of the points, but I'm going to be happy with what I've got. I've got some stuff coming in from Mocha. The tracking is awful. I don't care. I'm just going to hit solve. And I'm just going to scrub that through. And this is kind of fun. So we have, Mocha data exporting out into a SynthEyes thing. Now this is just obviously this is just a sort of a thing that Martin whipped up. But I think it's kind of interesting. And I think I'm going to get in trouble for showing all of this. So without any further ado, I'm going to run away from this before it gets me into more trouble. All right, let's get back to the group. All right, hello gang. Hopefully everyone is still here. We have JP, we have Russ. Hello everyone.
Greetings.
Okay.
Great demo.
Thank you very much. We've got a question that is coming in red hot here, and it's going in under the sort of workflow thing. So we'll come back to my workflow thing, so I've got a couple of little things in there, but this is importing and working and exporting 360 VR 3D stereoscopic over under video files. Is it possible to work with this file throughout? At the moment I have to split it into two files, one for the left eye, one for the right eye. That's a question for Russ, I think.
Right. SynthEyes handles 360 VR just in equirectangular format, so not the over under sort of thing.
So at the moment you're still splitting up.
Right. It's
okay.
Full 360 equirectangular.
Cool. All right. Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, that was an easy one. Let's knock that one out. Someone was asking, show exports into DaVinci. Well, I mean, you just got it into Resolve. You're welcome. We're going through a lot of these ones here. When can we expect a new SynthEyes update? Ooh.
It'll come. At the moment we're still working through, some of the things, updating the Boris FX sort of branding and whatnot. And there's kind of a accumulated backlog of new scripts, especially for the next version. A bunch of that is available in the customer only site already. And that includes stuff like the new full feature Maya ASCII exporter. So it's going to come. It's not going to be forever, but we'll see. Want to make sure that it comes out and it's fully baked, and not rather don't want to rush that whole process.
That seems like a much better way of doing things. I mean, this other question here, when we're talking about exports and workflows, and this is actually probably for both of you. It's like how much thought goes into that interoperability between different software when developing SynthEyes and Mocha.
Yeah, I can start at JP.
Go for it.
Yeah, I did mention the MyASCII exporter. That's the full feature one. Those things do take a lot of time to put together. I don't know. I can't speak for JP, but go ahead.
Yeah, I can certainly echo that, and it's the amount of effort that on the Mocha side, and I'm sure it's been the same for SynthEyes, that we've put into the exporters over the years is quite significant. But yeah, I mean, the key thing with all these tracking tools is it's the beginning of, or somewhere in the middle of your work. It's not where you finish a shot. You need to be able to export the data. So yeah, having a wide range of export formats, making sure the data is consistent, making sure it's usable once it's been exported, and that the artist is able to tweak things without having to necessarily redo the work that they've done are really important. So yeah, we put a lot of effort into interoperability, exporters, and that kind of thing.
What about like moving those into facilities? I mean, are there ways of sort of making your own or rolling your own exporters out of? We'll start out of Mocha first.
Yeah, definitely. And just as you demonstrated there, that exporter to SynthEyes was completely written by the Mocha's product manager in Python using the public Mocha Python API. People in facilities use that to write custom exporters. We've seen a variety of those sorts of extensions that people have built completely in-house. Some of them have been built in the public, and then we've ended up taking inspiration from that and then building things into Mocha. But definitely Mocha has the extensibility for that, and I know SynthEyes does too. So Russ can probably talk to that.
Right, and you can do that in Python, or the native scripting language for SynthEyes is called Sizzle. It's just kind of a very vanilla little scripting language. And yeah, the reason behind doing that as scripting is just that the other applications do change frequently, and these things all need updates. So using scripting for these exports gives us the ability to rapidly address changes. I think people with Blender are well familiar with that. Blender likes to kind of blow up their API all the time. So by doing these things as scripts, you can go and put out an updated script and have it adapt to whatever changes are necessary.
That's really it's good to know, and it sort of fits in with what people are speaking about as well. I'm trying to sort of just go, because we've got a lot of questions. I'm just trying to find the ones here. We do have a lot of questions of people asking about a plugin version of SynthEyes. Although I can't talk about a plugin version of SynthEyes, JP, could you talk a little bit about the process of taking Mocha from standalone to plugin? Yeah, and clearly everybody knows Boris FX is a plugin company, so it's a very, very natural thing to ask about. When Mocha joined Boris FX, pretty much the first major project that we embarked on was turning that into a plugin. And Mocha previously had been a standalone application only. And I guess that took probably, 9 months, something like that. I think it took us to go from zero to having a plugin in the market.
And yeah, throughout that process, and subsequently, we've done similar things with other products in Boris FX. So now I think we're in a very good position to be able to take any piece of standalone software like that and turn it into a plugin for After Effects, OFX, and all the hosts that we support. So yeah, it's definitely something we're thinking about.
Can you just remind me as well, like as soon as the Mocha plugin version was developed, Mocha standalone was killed dead instantly that very second?
Yeah, that's right.
Not?
We just yeah, no, absolutely. Mocha Pro standalone is still going strong. There are plenty of people who, for whatever reason, would prefer to use a standalone application rather than a plugin. Often people, especially in certain parts of the industry, Mocha is the tool they use all day long to get their job done, and it makes no sense for them to use a plugin. So I'm sure exactly the same approach would be taken with any software that was, in that area.
Yeah, and JP and Ben, if I could speak to that just a little also. I'll point out they're kind of two different uses and kind of users that have somewhat different situations. We've got people that are using SynthEyes and they're doing, compositing in After Effects or Fusion or whatever themselves. And then there are other customers that are basically tracking artists, outsourcers, freelancers, and they're generating tracking data to send to a client. And that tracking data is often going in half a dozen different formats. So it's not something that a plugin makes any kind of sense. It's broadcasting out all these different versions, and so you want different things in the different situations. So I think that's kind of an answer right there for you.
Well, if we're talking about the the future a little bit, there's a question that comes up a lot again, and I actually wish we had Boris here, but the Dutch internet has been taken offline apparently, and this is about what's happening in the future in the VFX industry as a whole with the arrival of AI technology. Can it be used to automate tracking to an extent where SynthEyes is no longer needed?
Can it be? Who knows?
Okay,
it may come.
Let's give us a time. Let's give us a time though.
In which case, we've automated everything out of existence. The nature of the beast is that increasingly difficult things come in, and you want precise numerical results out of things. And certainly, at least at the moment, the AI-ish sorts of things aren't really great at super precision sorts of operations. They give you sort of fuzzy sort of answers and spit stuff out that may or may not be right or make sense. So there's kind of always a human in the loop to keep a look on things. Can some of the AI technology be used to help the process? Yeah, and we're already doing that. There's some neural net based features in SynthEyes already, and you can see some spots where that could help out as well. Is it magically gonna make the software go away, make everybody's job go away? No, it's just another tool in the arsenal.
Yeah. I think. I mean, JP, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I definitely agree with the sentiment there from Russ. Yeah, I've yet to see. I've seen a lot research groups attempting this kind of problem, and yeah, there's nothing that would make sense as an artistic tool. You can see some of these applications maybe using real time, those sorts of things, but where you need complete control over the solution, and you need a human to be able to make decisions about it. It's hard to see that that's going to happen anytime soon with AI. definitely, though, as a company, we are doing lots in the AI area, more about image processing and little assistant type things. Ultimately, all our tools are about enabling artists to achieve what they want to achieve. Assisting as part of the storytelling process, and definitely AI components are coming into several of our products to help with that. But like fully under the control of the artist, and just helping to do little bits of image processing better than they could be done before, or automate some tasks that might have been particularly time consuming previously.
Excellent. I think so. Yeah. I mean, the future is definitely bright. So that the tools are going to get better, but yeah, I don't see people being automated out of a job, anytime soon. Thankfully. Okay, and with that, we are going to have to start to wrap things up. So I'm just going to throw it over for sort of final thoughts now. Russ, what are your sort of your closing thoughts about joining up with Boris FX and SynthEyes being part of the Boris FX family?
Yeah, I think my first word would be from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy: don't panic. We're still here. That the whole thing has grown to the point that having the additional engineering and marketing and everything backing of Boris FX is what you need to be able to move the tool forward. So that's what it is. That's what you're looking at. What does it take? You want to have different things addressed, better licensing schemes, whatever. This is how you get from here to there and be able to be better able to address and support what people need to see. And that the benefit of that to me is, hey, that means that there's more time to actually work on the software rather than worrying about whether somebody can copy and paste from one spot to another. So I think that's what this is about.
Well said. And JP, like final thoughts about having SynthEyes as a stablemate to Mocha now.
Well, I think it's a fantastic fit for Boris FX, and personally, I'm very excited to be collaborating with Russ on the future of SynthEyes. We've had bits of 3D tracking in Mocha for a long time, but it's really very simplistic compared to the hugely powerful tool that SynthEyes is. So yeah, I think there's a really bright future for SynthEyes as part of Boris FX. We're looking to take the product forward and as well use that technology in lots of our other products. So yeah, very excited, and I would definitely say watch this space for some of the things that people have been asking about.
Yeah, it's we've got some exciting times ahead of us, folks. All right, I want to say thank you very much to our guests, JP Smith and Russ Andersson, and of course in absentia Boris Yamitsky, who unfortunately couldn't be here for the final part. Thanks very much. It's been really interesting to talk to you today.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, JP.
Thanks, everyone.
But don't go anywhere. We still have some business to get to. We still have some things to give away. And it's my favorite part of any of the Boris FX Live is to give away. But if you've enjoyed the stream up till now, be sure to hit the thumbs up button for us. It helps us out a lot. It costs you nothing. And in fact, it gives you that sort of lovely warm feeling in the pit of your belly that you've done something good for the day. Alrighty. Last things as well. We have some more live streams coming up. And we have a raft of videos happening all the time on the Boris FX YouTube channel. So don't miss out any of those. Be sure to hit the subscribe button there as well. And you won't be bombarded with things. You'll be getting the stuff you love. If you want to come and see Boris FX live in person, in the flesh, and you are in Amsterdam for IBC, please come and join us. We're at the Dell booth in Hall 7. You won't be able to miss us. It'll be the one with the big flashing sign that says Boris FX over my head. Probably not actually doing that last thing, but I'll definitely be there, and I'll be happy to say hello to everyone. So, I mean, all that's left to do now is to spark up the tombola one more time. We're now a fully electrified tombola. We have taken away the diesel engine. We're fully electric. We're giving away a 1-year subscription to the Boris FX suite, and the lucky winner is going to go away today, and that person is, drumroll, Michael Thurer. Michael, congratulations. You are the big winner of the day. In fact, no, you're the second biggest winner of the day. You have won a 1-year subscription to the Boris FX suite. That is Mocha Pro, which we saw a little of today. It's Continuum, it's Sapphire, it's Silhouette, it's Optics. It's so much. So congratulations to Michael. Congratulations to all of our winners. And of course, the biggest winner is you for having joined us here today, and getting all of the knowledge coming in from Russ, JP, and Boris. So it's my pleasure to say goodbye. In fact, no, it's not a pleasure. It's sad to say goodbye, but it's my pleasure that you've been here throughout the show so far. Be sure to join us on Boris FX Live for our next one. Keep an eye on borisfxlive.com for our full schedule. But if I don't see you at IBC, I'll see you online very shortly. My name is Ben Brownlee, for Boris FX. Bye for now.